Thanks, Annie. So is there any public comment on items not on today's agenda? Public is writ large, so that would include anyone on the line today. Okay, seeing none, let's just roll right into our first agenda item. Jenny Daniels, we have a VAWA grant award contract and associated administrative documents.
Okay, I've been here a bunch of times with VAWA. Last time you were signing the documents for the next year's grant. This grant we actually got July 1st. So of last year. So you're signing the acceptance documents that would allow us to accept the money and finally draw down some of that money that we can get. It's about a $50,000 grant. We provide a 25% match, and it helps. It really primarily funds me to coordinate Just Response, which is our effort to work around violence for victims. Improving our system for victims, I should say.
And Jenny, yeah, and so for folks who don't see the description in front of you there, it's for $49,343. Is there a reason, Jenny, for the time lag between the grant award and this coming before us?
I think it's a federal government thing, so it is through it's state pass-through money. From the federal government to the Board of Crime Control, and it is from the Office of Violence Against Women. And I think it just was a stall. We actually signed award documents for the last grant of 2019 at the beginning of 2020 last year. So it seems like they're having this 6-month lag time. It's just really strange to me because I've been in the grant for 6 months now or 7 months. And we're just now accepting it.
Thanks. Hence our continued lobbying for, whenever possible, monies to come directly to local government without touching the state of Montana.
Yeah.
I move that the board approve the chair to sign the fiscal year 21 Stop Violence Against Women Grant Award contract.
Thanks, Juanita.
Excellent. I will second
administrative
that.
documents. Yeah.
Any further discussion or comments out there? Okay, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Adrian Beck, you are bringing before us request to authorize the chair to sign a lease agreement for space at the University Center related to vaccination. Adrian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what you have before you is a venue lease agreement with the University of Montana to utilize some space at the University Center for the operations of the vaccination coordination team. As I think everyone in this group is aware, the mayor and the commissioners asked the Office of Emergency Management to take on the role of vaccine coordination within Missoula County. And in order to do that, we needed to bring in quite a few folks to round out an incident management team to assist with all those functions. Currently, COVID has us pretty restricted in our normal emergency operations center space, and that it just does not offer enough space to have those bodies physically present together to do the coordination work that is required. Additionally, we needed to kind of upfit the call center by bringing on more people. Typically, we early on in the pandemic had utilized the Sophie Moise room for the purposes of our emergency operations center as well as call center capacity, but that is currently in use by the health department for their ongoing operations. So it was necessary for us to find a large venue and large space where we had connectivity with the county system, as well as the ability to expand the call center. And so what you have before you is the lease that makes this happen.
We must make it happen. Yes.
And Adrian, is this up? Is this on the third floor of the UC, or where is it?
It is on the third floor of the UC. Yes, we have some large kind of conference rooms there where we have primarily the team operating out of, and then we have several smaller rooms that we have the call center located in.
Great, thanks.
I motion to approve. The chair signed the venue lease.
I will second that. Any further discussion on the proposed lease? All in favor?
Aye. Thank you so much. And so we're going to be done with COVID by 7/31/2021. Is that right, Adrian?
Well, I hope so, but that when we look at when we think we might be able to kind of not need the university center, that is kind of where we have our horizon. But I wish I had a crystal ball. So I will note that the costs associated with this are eligible for FEMA reimbursement.
That is fantastic. And FEMA reimbursement to the tune of 100% reimbursement?
That is correct. Under the Biden administration, new guidance came out for state, local, and tribal jurisdictions to be eligible for 100% of costs associated with vaccine coordination and or distribution.
That is fantastic
Excellent.
news. Okay, I guess we already voted on that. So thanks, Adrian. So moving right along, Kyla, we have Parks and Trails Advisory Board appointments to be made.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Tom Aldrich, which is a regular member, resigned from the Parks and Trails Advisory Board effective February 28th of this month, leaving the remainder of his term vacant. So we have two motions to move the alternates. The first alternate, Jennifer Thompson, to move her into the regular member term, filling Tom's seat. The remainder of the term, which would start March 1st of this year through June 30th, 2022. And then we would move the second alternate, Ron Schlater, into the first alternate spot to fill the remainder of that term, which is March 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2023.
Okay, and we can take these simultaneously. So what do you think, Juanita?
That sounds great, kids. I move what Kayla proposed.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Couldn't have said it better myself. So I'll second that. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Sorry to see Tom move.
Yeah, and we have a second item here related to board appointments that also is partially related to Tom's moving out of the area. Kyla?
Yes, Tom was also a member of the Fair Event Committee. So he resigned again February 28th, leaving his term vacant. His current term runs through September 30th of 2023. So we're requesting to move the alternate, Peter Eggstad, to fill the remainder of the term, which would start March 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2023.
And Peter's name is spelled correctly?
I believe so.
Okay.
Okay.
How his signature showed when I corresponded with him.
Okay. I move that the board appoint alternate Peter Hagestad.
I will second that. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So Kyla, will we need to then advertise for all of these various alternates now?
Yes, press release went out last Monday, so we're advertising for these alternate terms that are now vacant.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. And so ends our action items today. Correspondence. Any correspondence to deal with? Oh, Anne just appeared on the screen. I'm not sure if you're wanting to talk about correspondence or the legislature.
The legislature.
Okay. Any burning correspondence we need to dispense with at this time? Okay. Seeing none. Our very own COO, Ann Hughes. Talk to us about the legislature.
Good morning, Commissioners. It's good to see you both. I have a few bills to bring up with you today. We have a bill, SB 140, revised laws related to the judiciary. That is up it was up in Senate Judiciary this morning, but we just wanted to bring it to your attention. We have Senators Sands and Bennett on that committee. This bill is sponsored by Senator Keith Regier out of Kalispell. The bill allows the governor to fill vacancies for state district and Supreme Court justices, and it eliminates the Judicial Nominating Commission, Our most recent experience with that, you might recall, was to fill one of our district court seats, the Jason Marks seat, I believe. The Judicial Nominating Commission was established in the state constitution in 1972. Montana is one of 37 states to have such a commission. I got all of this from a great article on the Daily Montanan, so credit where it's due there. The commission is made up of 7 people. There are 4 people that are appointed by the governor. There's a district court judge, and there are 2 attorneys appointed by the Supreme Court. The composition of the commission is decided by the legislature. So there's some questions about the constitutionality of the bill. And I'm just looking to see, we've got John Hart on the meeting. I'd be interested to hear if he has any thoughts on the bill. Yeah, just open it up for discussion there.
I would love to share some thoughts on this bill. This is a bill that's opposed by the State Bar of Montana, which is the organization to which all Montana attorneys are members. My experience practicing law for over 25 years in Montana is that the Judicial Nominating Committee has served us very, very well. It does an excellent job of finding the most qualified, impartial judges when there's a vacancy. And in my humble point of view, there would be no reason whatsoever to make any changes to what our Constitutional Convention saw as a good idea in 1972, and in my opinion is a good idea still in 2021.
Erica Grindy.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add what John just said, but I do sit as a trustee on the State Bar Board of Trustees. And so taking what John indicated in terms of the State Bar, recognizing that this is not something that the bar, or I would venture to say the majority of attorneys support, is a pretty big deal. The State Bar generally doesn't weigh in on a lot of things legislatively because it is a mandatory bar. And so, it sort of falls in line with the way that union dues operate. And so they really try to stay out of politics. So I think the fact that the bar is speaking out, really says a lot in terms of where this is headed. And like John said, I think even if this passes, there's no doubt that it'll be taken to the Supreme Court in terms of whether it's a constitutional move, because it is blending the judiciary's role with that executive branch.
Thanks, Erica. Well, this seems like something that we would want to oppose. What do you think, Juanita?
I agree, especially since Erica and John have expressed themselves as such. Don't want to get on the other side of them.
Yeah, really glad to have Erica and John on the call today. Yeah, we'll be happy to go ahead and construct a opposition message on that. And it was just heard today, so we'll get it to our delegates on the committee before executive action.
Okay. Thanks.
The next one also has to do with judges. It is HB 325. It's elect Supreme Court justices by districts. That is sponsored by Representative Barry Usher out of Billings. It was heard in House Judiciary this morning. We have Representatives France and Tenenbaum on that committee. This bill proposes to elect 6 Supreme Court justices by district, keeps their terms of 8 years. After each general election, the Chief Justice would be selected by a majority vote of the 7 justices not residing in a district and being elected at large. So that's similar to how county commissions work, right? Where it would be similar to how commissions work, but it's a legislative referendum. So it would be proposed to be on the ballot in November 2022. And I would really love to hear from John and Erica on this one too.
Yes, please do weigh in here, John.
I think this is an idea that's come up a few times in the past. It seems to me that the Supreme Court justices, the 9 justices make decisions that have an impact and are binding on every single person in the state of Montana. So why shouldn't every single person in the state of Montana have a vote on who should serve on our highest court? That would be my, initial take on the proposal.
And so just to be clear, Ann, is what you described, is HB 325 relegating to individual districts within the state? If you're in a certain geographic area, you would be voting for a specific
Yes.
justice?
So I misspoke. It's unlike how the commission
Okay.
operates. Yeah, sorry,
That was
I got
like-
tongue-tied
The
there.
entire county can vote for commissioners regardless of what district they're in.
But you have to live in separate districts.
But you have to, okay.
This is different than that, where you have to reside in a district to run for the seat, and only the people in that district can elect you.
Okay, that does sound like a manifest bad idea. Erica?
Okay, so
Hey there,
Yeah.
Dave
I
and
don't-
Juan and all. It's Josh. I just want to let you know I joined in. I'm just calling in from a parking lot.
Okay, are you assuming that we would actually care, Josh?
I care, Josh,
Oh, my
I care.
Ouch! 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 I
Welcome.
thought everything would stop without me. It sounded like you're having an interesting discussion about districts and voting.
Yeah, every vote has failed without you so far. It's been just divisive today.
Are you and Juan at each other's throats like usual?
It's just terrible.
Kids, behave.
Erica, what do you think?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is, to John's point, the Supreme Court justices, I mean, they're making decisions for the whole state, but I think even alongside that, I mean, they're all attorneys. They've all taken an oath in terms of their service as attorneys, and so they're making decisions based upon the rule of law, and that doesn't change no matter where you live in the state. And so it just doesn't make a great deal of sense to me. I mean, and there may be some who disagree with that sentiment, but I really feel strongly that the rule of law is the same regardless of where we're at in the state of Montana.
Yeah, that sounds like
Erica,
another one we ought.
what's the issue at stake here? I'm sorry to be coming in late, but I'm trying to figure it out, and I think I have it figured wrong, so I won't even say.
I'm gonna let Ann restate it.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Thanks, Erica. Josh, it's House Bill 325, which would put a legislative referendum before the voters in November 2022, asking if tongue-tied again. Supreme Court justices should be elected by district, 7 districts across the state.
Oh. Huh. Okay, thanks. Why would someone want this?
Yeah, what is the language the proponents use?
I haven't had a chance to listen to the hearing because it was just this morning. So I haven't heard beyond just skimming the bill this morning, I have not listened. So I would not want to hazard a guess there.
No worries.
I think we can probably read between the lines that there are folks who feel like some of the at-large Supreme Court justices are not adequately, well, just to put it bluntly, adequately partisan, ironically. So
That would do it. Cause that would do it, Dave. Exactly. Because if the state's divided into districts, then you get a whole bunch of them from one party.
Thank you. I wasn't
And if
I
you-
wasn't reading between the lines.
And if
You're
you draw the
acutely-
district, and if you draw the districts artfully, you get them all from one party.
Yeah.
Well, and the
Our
other,
districts would be Mineral and Lake counties. Missoula would be with Mineral and Lake County in this bill.
well,
And
the other
recall that we have nonpartisan judicial elections in Montana, both at the district court level and the Supreme Court level. And I was just going through my head. There are only 7 justices. I said 9 earlier. There's only 7. And I think a couple are from Great Falls, a couple are from Helena, a couple are from Billings, and then, one is from Shodo. So, and I may be missing 1 or 2 other locales, but that's a pretty fair distribution
Yeah.
right now, although, and I think there might be one from Bozeman. So I don't know if the criticism is they're all from urban areas, but that's where 9 out of 10 attorneys are too.
Yeah, good question. Whether this is primarily turning on an urban-rural divide perception or something else, but in any event, it seems like a bad idea. What do you guys think?
Does this thing have a headwind behind it?
I don't know the answer to that question, Josh. I mean, I'm
A headwind behind, depends on where's the wind?
I said that wrong. A tailwind. Does it have support?
Yeah.
I'd like to listen
right.
to the committee hearings that are for both of these bills, the justice related bills this morning, and get back to you on that. My guess, I know that the governor's office supports the first bill, Josh, which you weren't here to listen to yet, but that deals with filling vacancies for district court judges and Supreme Court judges and eliminates the Judicial Nominating Commission, which was established.
Right. I heard about that one on the news. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that one at least has support of the governor's office, but.
Well, what do you all think? Oppose HB 325 or take no position?
I like what Erica said, that the rule of law applies across the entire state, not by district.
Yeah.
Okay. Oppose.
We'll craft a message and send. Thank you. The next one, I'm going to actually lean on Erica just a little bit more if I could. That is HB 228, Establish Family Medical Leave Insurance. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that yet, Erica. If it's being heard in House Business and Labor tomorrow. We have 3 representatives on that committee, Sullivan, Curdy, and Olson. Yeah, it's being sponsored by Monty Funk. She's a Democrat out of Helena. So I'm not sure how much of a shot it has, but family medical leave insurance. What do you think, Erica?
So I haven't had a chance to look at it, which I apologize, but is the general principle that it would, there'd be some centralized state fund that would then, we'd have paid family medical leave.
Correct.
So, okay. So essentially, Missoula County, obviously, we have paid parental leave. And so this would almost take the place of that sort of leave, which I think we are in the minority of employers in Montana who are offering that sort of leave. My position is, as an employer, I think it is really important to support our employees when they're in, places in their lives where they should be focusing on families, whether that's when they're having children or they have family members who are ill, or, I think a lot of us are getting to a place where we're, dealing with aging parents and that sort of a thing. I have not looked at it from a financial perspective. So I say this from, the perspective as an employer. I think it's a super important thing to do, but I don't know the impact on our county in terms of what this would do for small businesses. And that, I think that is also something really important, because this could get, it's just going to add to the payroll tax for employers, which is something for you all to think about, because I think Missoula County as an employer has committed to, providing some of this paid leave. But we also, as an employer, are statutorily required to provide, what I would say are good sick leave, vacation leave for our employees that also generally can support our staff when they need to be out. So I think if we just focus internally, I don't see this as a huge impact. I think it's a real positive. But if we look outward at the community, that's where I'm probably not the best person to speak on it.
Are there others who have any insight? And we could always delay formally weighing in at this juncture pending more information.
Oh, you're muted, Anne.
I just said absolutely. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm looking
Anyone
at,
else?
there is a fiscal note that I would need to kind of digest a little bit more.
When's it heard in committee? Ann?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow
What's this
morning,
number again?
afternoon?
It's House Business and Labor. I'm just putting the fiscal note link into the chat there.
It's
Sorry.
28, Juanita.
Thank you.
If any of the legislative team knows the answer to that, feel free to jump in here. It is up tomorrow morning at 8:30.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we often wait to weigh in. It's okay to wait to weigh in until after the, the hearing and hear how it goes and send comments before executive action.
That might be prudent. Give us a little bit of breathing room here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, what else do you have, Ann?
That's what I got. I have an immunization bill left. Sorry, I got one more. This is a bill that has been introduced before. It's revised immunization requirements for pharmacists. It's HB 250. It is being heard in House Human Services today. It allows for pharmacists and other certified, I think, pharmacist assistants to provide immunizations. There's some pretty interesting comments from the health department. They don't agree with this bill. And I wanted to double check just to see, given the COVID, because it specifically outlines that they would be able to provide COVID vaccinations. So generally, our side of the street has kind of supported, not actively supported this bill, but been supportive of this bill. It's come up before in the past, but the health department has opposed. They've said it would increase childhood vaccination rates and agree that pharmacists can play a role in increasing access to vaccines, but their concerns are around patient safety and equity. If pharmacists are going to administer complicated childhood vaccines, the requirement to have a collaborative practice agreement must remain in place. It would allow for a safety net and accountability for pharmacists administering vaccines with oversight from a trained and licensed medical practitioner. Regarding equity, we recommend pharmacies that are going to administer pediatric vaccines be part of the Vaccine for Children program. It provides an avenue for vaccine access without out-of-pocket costs for families who are in Medicaid eligible, uninsured, underinsured, or American Indian Alaskan Native. And I believe our Colleen Morris will be testifying on the bill this afternoon. So with that,
Josh, do you have any insight here?
So I'm just thinking, it's sort of the between the lines concern here that if pharmacies take this on, they will displace health departments, they'll charge for it, and then people will have no option except to pay good money, and folks who don't have the money won't get the vaccines. Is that do you have the sense that that's an underlying concern? Because at face value, I would think that more people giving vaccines out, better, right? The equity piece kind of threw me for a loop there. Ann, do you have any comments? Am I headed down the wrong direction?
No, I think you're right. And I think that's the position that we've kind of taken prior to, which is more people getting vaccinated. This is prior to COVID. More people getting vaccinated is better. Delivering immunizations via more people trained to do that is better. Yeah, that equity piece threw me for a loop too. So I might need to weigh that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a little.
Yeah, I wonder if there are. Are there places in the state where maybe there's a pharmacy, but there's not a health department that is active enough or big enough to offer vaccines? And if somebody could get it at their pharmacist, that might save them from driving to Havre or Great Falls or something. Or is this sounds like the fear is the slippery slope to the complete privatization of all healthcare, and you pay to play?
Yeah, those are good questions, Joss. I'm always somewhat well, I've seen the slippery slope argument used inappropriately so many times that I'm not always moved by that. And what you bring up is another form of equity. If folks are going to have to find transportation to drive 100 miles, that's a hardship also.
Right. Or is this, I mean, just to, I don't want to be too harsh here, and I don't mean to be harsh, but is this health departments in general, not our health department, but health departments in general, being kind of turfy? Like, this is our terrain, don't step on it, because if you step into it, it may make us a little bit less relevant.
Yeah, I guess I feel like I'm not, I don't have enough of a grasp of this to know what the best position to take would be. And it sounds like our health department is lobbying already. So maybe we don't.
And I'm not, maybe we just stay out of it and let them do their thing.
And this would be another one where I'd be happy to listen to it and report back.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
I don't feel like I have a firm grasp either, and I don't want to guess.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. It's easy for us to speculate our way into a corner.
Yeah.
Hey, I did just get, since Adrian is still on here and we're kind of talking about vaccines and, well, immunizations, I got a question here from Lee Greenwald. Is there a county city plan to ensure older and BIPOC folks in detention get access to the vaccine? What's the process there?
So yeah, we're working with the detention facility around their plans with Planned Parenthood for vaccinating the detained population. In addition, we're currently working with Missoula Aging Services and a lot of other community organizations to reach out to senior population that may be homebound or not have the technology necessary to kind of access available vaccination appointments. So we have some mobile options that we're exploring, working with Meals on Wheels. But yeah, we are actively trying to problem solve that.
Thank you.
Thanks. One other piece of legislation that I just heard about, maybe I read about it in the newspaper, is a bill that would limit tribal jurisdiction over hunting on non-tribal land within the exterior boundaries of reservations. And maybe this is a question for folks in CAPS, but could we do a little sleuthing on that, because it sounds like a terrible idea and an infringement on tribal sovereignty, and to the extent that a portion of the Flathead Reservation overlaps with Missoula County, it could be something that we would want to weigh in on.
Absolutely. I'll do some digging and follow up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Anything else on the legislature?
Nope. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ann. Anything regarding upcoming meetings? How about COVID? Anything else there? Adrian, is there anything else you want to share with us? I hear there's a pandemic going on.
There still is a pandemic going on as we kind of come on the 1 year anniversary of when things just kind of went abnormal. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have, kind of COVID general, as well as, vaccination coordination efforts to date and kind of what some of the things we're working on there. Quick rundown on non-congregate shelter. To date, we have served 224 unique individuals with non-congregate shelter, either in a tier 1 being COVID positive, tier 2 being a close contact, or tier 3 being considered high risk per CDC guidance. That operation continues to run very smoothly. Again, some changes to the FEMA guidance under the Biden administration that went into effect on January 21st. If you will recall, previously, non-congregate shelter activities were a public assistance eligible activity under FEMA at that 75%. Under Governor Bullock, the state pledged to cover that remaining 25% from their CARES allocation. When Gianforte took office, that went away. But then when the Biden administration came into power, they changed the guidance to where that activity is now at 100% eligible for state and local jurisdictions. So not a huge change for us in that up to this date, we've always been eligible for 100%, but now that 100% will be coming exclusively from the federal government. To date, we've spent just shy of $1 million on non-congregate shelter activities, including the staff, as well as leasing the facility and food and all the wraparound services that are encompassed with that.
Josh, did you have a question?
Just, I got a call yesterday from a grumpy guy who wanted to put the blame on us. He knew of people who went to one of the hospitals and got a vaccine. Got vaccinated, and they were younger than they were supposed to be, and he thought that we had been slacking on this. And I want to make sure that we understand it right, or I understand it right, that isn't our job.
Yeah, I got a call from the same individual. Adrian, can you speak to that?
Sure. So as you will recall, we have, in the landscape of Missoula County, we have about 27 registered providers to administer the COVID-19 vaccine. In this moment right now, vaccine supply is so limited that there's only about 4 active vaccine providers in the county. It's a complicated system of how they acquire the vaccine, either through a direct federal allocation. So like All Nations Health Center has a direct federal allocation of vaccine that does not come through the state approval process. The remainder of them, though, come from a recommendation from DPHHS as to what providers will get what. Largely, providers are given kind of the autonomy to administer the vaccine within the state guidance. Locally, we have been able to coordinate with all of those providers to follow the Board of Health's recommendation that as we look at this 1B population that is pretty massive. We expect that to be about 40,000 people eligible in 1B that actually will want a vaccine. And so as a way to kind of stratify that that 1B population, the Board of Health made the recommendation that we look at the epidemiological data to determine who is most at risk in that group. And there's good data to support that individuals who are over 70 or Native Americans or persons of color are at the highest risk in that group of 1B. And so the health department is mandated to follow that by the Board of Health's action, and the rest of the providers, it is a recommendation. To date, all of those providers have agreed to follow that recommendation. Now, when we see younger people getting vaccinated, it could very well be that they meet the 1A criteria and that they are a registered healthcare provider.
So, Adrian, how will this change as the vaccine distribution process evolves? Will there be a point in time where there's more leverage, I guess, in terms of more leverage over the providers to actually deliver the vaccine according to how we've all collectively agreed, as opposed to please do this?
Well,
or is it always going to be the case that
I think that I don't know that any jurisdiction has the capacity to police every single shot that is administered by providers, and keep in mind also that private pharmacies will be starting to get direct federal allocations as well in the very near future. So what we're asking for is cooperation and coordination so that we can have a consistent public message, and I'm happy to report that is currently occurring. There is some movement right now with state DPHHS to have that allocation be more of a local decision. As you can imagine, just the 27 providers in Missoula County all putting in a request to the state, and then the state having to, by committee or whatever their internal processes are, determine who's best capable to receive vaccine on any given week. Is overwhelming to the state, and really they appropriately feel that at the local level we would have better insight as to how who has the best capability to deliver vaccine at any given time. And so we are looking for that to change in the next week or two, based on our conversations with the state. They're still trying to kind of figure out that process of how that allocation and ordering essentially would become a local function.
So if that's the case, Adrian, would you and your team be the portal through which that allocation would occur?
Yes. So our team feels that is an appropriate ask of us, in addition to and in consultation with the health officer, who has a lot of historical knowledge, as well as just understands the, I guess, programmatically how you would have a vaccine campaign or program that would withstand kind of the length of time that we think this is going to need to occur.
Thanks. Any other questions for Adrian?
I will say yesterday we did we partnered with Partnership Health Center and did a drive-through vaccine clinic up in Seeley Lake that went very well despite really horrific weather. But part of our efforts right now are to kind of game out some of these different methodologies and opportunities of how we would deliver vaccine in a COVID environment. So we've done some mass clinics with the University of Montana School of Pharmacy to kind of figure out what is that sweet spot of vaccines per hour, and how scalable that is, and where those bottlenecks occur. And last Sunday we did 804 dose clinic in the span of about 4 hours. 5 hours, and that worked really well. And the clinic yesterday was a drive-through only clinic for 200, and we're able to kind of meter that and determine that taking that model and plugging it in at some other location, that about 100 an hour is pretty reasonable. So.
No, that's fantastic. You were able to pull it off.
Yeah.
Hopefully the word gets out in Seeley that we have not forgotten them up there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge that we face right now is meeting expectations and making sure that we are as equitable as possible, and that we are reaching those that in this particular population that do have a lot of challenges, whether it's technological challenges, mobility, and making sure that we are trying to avail as many opportunities as we can, in as many locations as we can is challenging right now. This week we have a bump. Kind of a one-time bump in the vaccine that came into Missoula County, and it actually has not arrived yet. It's a Tuesday, so Tuesday's delivery day. But whereas we got about twice our normal weekly allocation, and this was as a result of some excess vaccine that had been pre-allocated to the long-term care facilities in Montana. And so we received 3,000, roughly, give or take, doses this week, and we're working with the 3 providers that received those trays of Pfizer to figure out how we can break those apart in an efficient way and start to get it to providers who may serve some of these more underserved populations, rather than just a patient base through the hospitals.
That's great, Adrian.
Yeah. So Adrian, in a case like that, whether it's 3,000 or what we had been getting 1,500, is that then further split between people who are getting second doses and first doses?
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for bringing that up. When we talk about the numbers coming in, we are talking about first doses, so new doses coming in. Second doses are a complicated system of keeping track of when those second doses come due. But when we talk about the vaccine allocation, it's talking about those new first doses. The second doses will always follow behind through a different ordering process.
That's good to know.
So 1,500 a week, that's first doses. Essentially, that's all we're talking about. That's what that means, right?
That's exactly what that means. And, to date, it's been somewhat of, kind of going out and trying to find who got what, right? And I'm happy to report that we just have really great cooperation with all the providers. And when they get notified that they are going to receive a shipment, that we know about that, we know what their plans are, and really there's been really good cooperation with sharing a vaccine. So, you know, the Missoula City County Health Department, who has their vaccine clinic stood up at Lucky's, has not received an allocation. Part of that is due to the fact that they don't have the ultra cold storage, but we do have lots of facilities that do. And so we've been able to work with those facilities that get that allocation and have been able to cleave off some and reallocate it to the health department so that they can keep that Lucky's Market and vaccine effort going, as well as the PHC clinic up in Sealy was also a cleave off of one of those larger facilities.
Great. Well, thanks for all
Yeah.
your work and the work of your team there, Adrian.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and
thanks for
yeah,
that.
if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, shoot me an email. I know that I typically give the update on the MAC call, which only one of you is on, and I will try to get into a schedule of popping into the admin meetings to give kind of some routine updates as well. But if you have questions
It's
or if you
super
hear
helpful,
concerns
Adrian.
from
Yeah.
citizens, you know, we're building the ship as we're sailing in many ways. It's not like we've never done mass vaccinations as you know, public health or in different emergencies, but COVID adds some complications that we're having to continually kind of pivot and move around. So feedback as to how the communications is going, the website navigation, outreach to some of these harder to reach communities and or individuals, please let us know, because we're in a constant kind of evaluation process.
Great. Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else before we wrap up? Okay, we will be adjourned and some of us will be joining in for a fairgrounds update here in a few minutes, I think. So,
Yeah,
Thank
all right.
David, one, I have to deal with a computer person. I may be jumping in a bit late, but I'll be calling in.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm
This
just
is a
gonna-
little nightmarish for me.